And at this point, I want to really recognize and welcome Reverend Sheila. She's been with us before, and her talk is on finding, cultivating, and experiencing the joy, which who could argue with that? And just a little bit about her. She's leads the faith-based arm of the Connections practice, and her alternative ministry is from conflict to connection and unity. And as most of you know, the connection practice is the continuation of BePeace and Rita Marie and all of that. So we're glad she's continuing with that work. And she previously had served as the minister at Stockton and serves on the regional board of Unity's West Central region. So without further ado, Reverend Sheila, tell us about joy, please.
Oh, thank you so much for that beautiful introduction and for inviting me here today. I'm so happy to be here today. And today, the word of the day is joy. So there's human joy, those joys we experience as human beings on this earthly realm. And then there is divine joy. And I'm going to talk about that today, the difference in how we go from one to the other. I'm going to talk about how we do that. And I have a bottom line message that came to me as I was meditating on this talk the other day that I'm really excited about sharing with you. So that's going to be the focus today. Christmas, we're in Advent season on the fourth Sunday of Advent, which is joy. And Christmas itself represents the divine child that is born in each of us. I'm talking to you, Unity folks. I know I'm talking to the choir. You already know this, but for me, constant reminders are very helpful. And Advent, as a reminder, allows us that time and space that we're all in. We're kind of too busy sometimes to take that time and space, but it encourages us to take that time and space during Advent season to nurture a fragile, new understanding of who we truly are. When we're better able to experience that final aspect of Advent, if we go through all the other steps of spiritual preparation, then that prepares us to enjoy the final aspect, and that is joy. And the hope in that is that we have a sense of oneness with divine spirit, sacred divine. And it will awaken in us and you and me a knowing of yourself as holy too. So that's what we're hoping to accomplish today. And I really liked what you said, Dennis, about having this be with us all week long as things we can bring into our lives. Heavy focus on that today. So there's some people feel like worship should be a solemn occasion, and others think it should be joyful. And I think there's a time and place for both of those. And for today, I think we're going to be more in the joyful aspect, being our word is joy, right? And so I'd like to introduce a flash mob in France, I believe, and it's Ode to Joy. And I want you to pay attention to some things. First off, it starts off really solemn with a musician coming out, and he has a stoic look on his face, and he starts to play his violin, and a little girl comes up and puts money in the tip till. And as it goes on, it crescendos to an even more intense, even louder, faster, more intense. And that's sometimes how it is when we're trying to get to the joy. And maybe sometimes we can't quite get there because Christmas can sometimes be a difficult time for some people. Maybe we're not actually acting as merry and bright as we're supposed to. What's wrong with me? Or maybe we've lost a loved one, or just for any number of reasons. Maybe we don't have the money to buy the gifts for people that we want to or wish we could, or, just all the stress of getting it all done can kind of dampen our spirits. And so sometimes it takes a getting back into the joy, which is an important thing for us to do. And so sometimes it's a gradual thing, as in this song, Ode to Joy, in this video, it's a gradual thing and it crescendos. So as we practice getting into the joy, it can be the same way. And notice the children. When we're getting into joy, we need to become like little children. And notice that the children begin to conduct with the conductor, and there's a little boy up on the pole conducting, and they're laughing, and the parents start bouncing their babies up and down. And just look at the joy. The children are dancing. So look at the joy that awakens in those children as this video goes on. So, Kyle? I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Every time I watch that, I just either get tears in my eyes, tears of joy, or just I feel it. And I hope that you did too, and hope you noticed some of the things that I had suggested that you look for, as I will mention some of those things as I proceed with my talk. So Jim Blake, who's the Unity headquarters CEO, in the 2018 Advent booklet, he wrote a story, and he said, I love all the glitter and the snowflakes and the shimmering lights and everything that sparkles unapologetically, he says. Kyle, could you end that slide, please? And he says, I love all that stuff. I get into it. I'm one of those people too. And I suspect that some of you are too. And sometimes I think I'm not supposed to do that because it's commercial and it gets away from the true meaning of what people tell me. But you know what? As Jim Blake said, I'm also aware that our world has become increasingly complex. Would you say? Widening inequities in social class, never-ending list of social justice causes that need to be meaningfully addressed, more divisiveness. So how can we ignore all that and get caught up in our snow globe holiday scenes and the Christmas holiday spirit? How can we do that? Jim Blake, how can you do that? How can I do that? Seems wrong against what people tell me. The answer is this. It is precisely the holiday spirit that helps us. It helps us overcome many of the problems we see in our world. For it is that very spirit that brings forth our generosity and our compassion. You ever notice that? And even when we watch a Hallmark movie that kind of leaves a knot in our throat, it leaves us with feelings that it generates those feelings in us that make us want to make the world a better place. It makes us want to be better human beings. It makes us want to uplift others, inspire others, and raise one another. So yeah, nothing wrong with that. So a few years back, I was struggling with this it's apropos that I should be doing this talk on joy, because I have struggled with the word joy. And a few years ago, I was having a hard time in my life, and I asked my shaman, what is joy anyway? What is it? And he started saying, started giving me some synonyms. Well, it's bliss, it's gladness, it's happiness, it's warm fuzzies, elation, exhilaration, exultation, euphoria, delight, cheerfulness, exuberance, glee, jubilation, lightheartedness, merry, bright, heaven in here, right now, not out in the sky somewhere someday, but heaven. I went, yeah, I get all that in my intellect, but words can't seem to describe the experience of it. What's the experience of it? Words can't seem to get to that. And then we discuss, well, maybe being a lot of times as human beings, we don't wake up until we're in misery, where things happen in our life to where we're reached rock bottom or whatever. And then we come in the back door. And so maybe it'd be easier to come in through the back door, through the antonym. An antonym would be misery, sadness, unhappiness, downheartedness, sorrow, hell in here in my beingness right now. Oh boy, I don't want that. So what can I do to change that? Okay, sometimes we come in that way. So those are all descriptors of human joy. And there are all those things that bring us joy when we're human beings. And then there's the divine joy. And that entails knowing at a deep, deep level and experiencing who we truly are. More about that in a minute. So the human things that bring us joy are a beginning. They're a precursor to the divine joy, like John the Baptist was a precursor to bigger and better coming, Jesus. And so what we do is we practice bringing joy into our human existence until it becomes more natural. And I would suggest that the things that I'm about to tell you to do, to suggest that you do, might be good if you practice this for at least 21 days. There's something about 21 days. They say it takes 21 days to break a habit, to change a habit, to develop a new habit. In the medical field, biology field, they say it takes 21 days to get rid of the phantom limb effect. When a person loses a limb, they think they still have it for 21 days. There's something about the 21 days, but I might even suggest, if you can, spread it out to 40 days. There's something to be said about the 40 days and nights that Jesus spent in the wilderness. So we practice this, what I'm about to say. Now, the divine joy is rather elusive. Well, not rather. It is elusive. Words can't seem to capture that experience. And when we try to put words on it, it just dissipates. You could say it dilutes it. And it's a word like love, that we can't really define the experience of it. Like, what would it feel like to be in the midst of being truly, truly loved? God, we can't really put words on that either. Truth and joy, those are all words that are rather elusive, that we can't define or put words on the experience, especially of the divine love. We might be able to put some words on human joy, but divine joy is another thing. So one way to prepare yourself for the rebirth of the Christ consciousness in your heart, which is what today is all about, and this week is all about, is preparing ourselves, is to spend time considering all the ways that joy has shown up in your human life. I go, oh, I can't remember any times. This was back when I was having this hard time. Oh, the drama of trying to remember those times. Okay, start small. It's gradual. Okay, when I was a child, it was a dusk and a starry night and a full moon. And I was rolling my body down the hillside in our yard, and I was giggling. Yes, I remember that joy that I felt in that moment. Okay, and then once I remembered that, I remembered another time and another time and more recent times. So sometimes we have to start small and make it gradual, like in the Ode to Joy, it was a gradual thing. So how do we do that, though? How do we remember those times? Well, the spiritual practices that you all are doing are important too. Like, you know what I'm talking about, the spiritual readings that you do. Some people read spiritual before they go to bed. Gratitude, getting into a habit of gratitude and appreciation, prayer, meditation, those are all way important. And heart math, you all know heart math. Heart math is a really good way to get into heart-brain coherence and get into that space where then you can remember those joyous times. But there's one that I want to emphasize, and that is that we need to get in the space of being more like a child. Next slide, please. Truly, I tell you, unless you change and become like little children, you will never get into the kingdom of heaven. The kingdom of heaven, experiencing that heaven inside right now. That's the kingdom of heaven we're talking about. Be like little children. Children are enthusiastic. They don't forget how to have fun. They're in a sense of awe and wonder and excitement, fun-loving, lost in the present moment. Like the next slide. This is one of my favorite slides. Look at the joy in that child's face, and the camel's face for that. They're innocent and they're trusting. And I'm not suggesting that as adults we don't become naive children, but we get into that space from time to time of letting that child express itself and come out. And children are quicker to embrace love and life, and they laugh more easily, more often. Like in the next slide, I love bubbles, and this little child is obviously getting joy from these bubbles. Children, they know plenty, and they don't necessarily understand all that they know, and they don't have a need to understand. It's okay. Actually, to children, the mystery is good. And the mystery itself fills them with a sense of awe. You ever experienced that? And you know what? It's a terrible thing when we lose that. I have a sock drawer that's full of socks with teddy bears and smiley faces and ice cream cones and all that fun stuff. My Christmas tree is full of ornaments with that kind of stuff. So I think you all ought to do like I do. Here's what you need to do. I think we all need to do that. I don't know, maybe it's just my personality, whatever. But if that appeals to you, then do it. End slide, please. So trying to remember the times where you felt joy. Kyle, can you highlight me? Maybe it was a time where you gave of yourself for someone else, or did something that you know made their day. They just brightened up when you did that or gave whatever you gave. Maybe that gave you joy. You may be surprised at how even in your lowest of times, one of the many faces of joy was right there with you. And you might not have realized it. So sometimes we start small. Sometimes it has to be gradual. Like in the flash mob, Ode to Joy. Like the big, bright Christmas star that the wise men followed. You in your wisdom, your inherent wisdom, your intuition, memories of joyful times sometimes appear at first only as a dim flicker in your mind. But as you recognize that star, as you recognize those memories, that dim flicker of wisdom, and as you follow it, it becomes brighter and more familiar and radiates light from your heart, your internal GPS, that guiding light that leads you to remember the joys and that leads you to be joy. It's a state of being. It's not doing, it's being. Be joy. What a blessing to experience that kind of deep joy, the kind of joy where your heart could burst with fullness, where your body might shimmer with quiet excitement, where the world feels more colorful, more alive, where all good things feel and seem possible. Wow. Moving from the human to the divine. How about that? The metaphysical thing, angels, the angels who bring good tidings of great joy. Those are those radiant thoughts and feelings that come to you directly from divine, sacred spirit, that tell you of your divine self. There's a story that Kurt Condra told about at his church, and the family service on Christmas Eve, everyone filed by a creche and they peered into a manger. And instead of seeing, being Unity, instead of seeing a doll or a baby, they observed a mirror. So what they saw back at themselves was their own face atop a pile of hay. Now the children got it. The children got it. They could see that the birth of the Christ child signified the birth of the Christ consciousness within them. And at about a 6th grade level, the older children got that same Christ consciousness, Christ spirit is in everyone. Next slide, please. You are joy. You are it. Some people have trouble saying, I am it. And if you can't do it, I understand, just do whatever you need to do to get there. This is the bottom line. How do we do this? How do we get into the joy of the Christ consciousness in our own hearts? How do we get into that divine joy? How do we go from the human joy to the divine joy? In that slide, please. And if you just can't get there, use a different word. Instead of saying, I am it, I am joy. If you can't do that, say, I am divine. Or divine is a big aspect to me as well. Or the joy is a big aspect to me as well. I have that aspect as well. Whatever you need to. But here's the bottom line. If you just can't get to the fact that you are it, then act as if. Act as if. It's already done. As in Unity's affirmative prayer, we don't beg for God out there to bring us a Cadillac or something. We have faith that as we say the words, and we don't even have to say the words, it is already done. And we act as if it's already done. Pierre Desjardins said, behave as if you have already received what you ask for. If those embedded theologies from your childhood keep creeping in that, no, I'm not it, it's out there. Okay, when all those things that you've been told creep in, you're too this, you're too shy, too talkative, too whatever, or you're not enough of this, or you're too much of this, or you need to do this, you shouldn't do that. When all that stuff starts to creep in, all those things have been told. Finances, I can't. My finances, I can't pull out. My health, I can't. My relationships, my conflicts, my misunderstandings, all the done you wrongs. I'm not saying to bypass those, spiritual bypass. Observe those things are really happening. Go through the middle of those feelings. Go through the middle of the healing. Get professional help if that's called for. That's okay. And then act as if the joy that you want, the knowing, the realization that you are the joy, act as if it is already there. Activate your imagination. What would that experience be like? Would it be a general sense of all is right with the world? Would you feel a glowing about yourself, your whole body vibrant, your cells buzzing, alive, life coursing through your veins? Would there be body sensations? Would there be feelings? Would there be sounds for some of you? What might that look like? Would there be a twinkle in your eye? In the book, The Velveteen Rabbit, the nanny says to the rabbit, Well, I do declare, I believe he has a look of knowing in his eyes. Do you ever look into someone's eyes so bright that it seemed like you could see into their soul? Somebody's home in there. You ever see somebody like that? Practice this every day for at least 21 days. And if you can extend it out to 40, that might be helpful too. In the 218 Advent booklet, Mark Fuss said, "We do live in uncertain times, a world where people are hurting, the poor go hungry, and there are endless challenges that arise in our world and in us, in our lives. But together, we are here to bring a world of hope. May we use this time during the holidays to look directly at the seeming chaos and not ignore it, not to do spiritual bypassing and act like, oh, everything's great. And I feel great when maybe we don't always feel that way. But to know the human spirit that magically arises during this time of year, the holiday spirit will someday overcome all that we see before us, just as it has for centuries. Remember, this too shall pass. The yin and the yang, the ebb and the flow, infinity. There is a season. And I ask you now, who can grow more in faith? Who can grow in faith more? Who can share more peace? Who can love more? Who can bring more joy? I know I can. You? I know that you can too. Let's take this into meditation. Just close our eyes if you feel comfortable, or soft gaze in front of you, whatever works for you. Just relax. Breathe. Let go. And open to receive. And affirm to yourself, I give thanks for the greatest gift, Christ love born in me. Relax. Breathe. Let go. Open to receive. I experience a renewed awareness of joy, compassion, understanding, oneness. I rekindle my dedication to being a joyful presence. I affirm goodwill to all as I envision the earth and its inhabitants living in peace. Relax. Breathe. Let go. And open to receive. I discover that my greatest joy is knowing, feeling, experiencing the presence of God within me. I recognize and rejoice in God's presence in me and see it in everyone I meet. I know that joy is always present and can be called into expression at every moment. My journey has brought me once again to the Christ child, both to give from my heart and to receive the greatest love. As I celebrate this Advent season, I realize my divinity is the source of my joy rather than the inner wellspring, rather than material goods or creature comforts. My divinity is the source of my joy rather than material goods or creature comforts. When I face challenging times, I draw from the inner wellspring of my divinity, most especially joy. This day, this moment, I joyfully celebrate that I am fully divine and fully human. As we bring ourselves, our consciousness back to this present moment in time, in our chairs, in this room, we get into the spirit of lighthearted joy with this next Disney Christmas song.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much for your thoughts and examples and suggestions on joy, and particularly for the shanty at the end. I really appreciate the humor and joy, the childish humor and joy. Wonderful. Thanks. Thanks so much.